Paula, what do you feel when you hear this news today?
I'm not surprised. It's despicable. I remember not so long ago, the guy in Liverpool that tried to blow up the maternity hospital. He did that because he was upset because they didn't believe him when he pretended to be a convert. So many people are lying and they're used to judges believing them, having lawyers believing them, or lawyers often tell them what to say. And it's just disgusting. Something needs to change rapidly in this country because we have too many human rights lawyers. We have too many judges that all they seem to care about is the welfare of asylum seekers. They do not care about the safety of British people, working taxpayers, British people. We come secondary, and whatever asylum seekers say, it needs to be taken as gospel. This has been going on for decades. Decades ago, we had lots of Albanians pretending to be Kosovan because there was a war in Kosovo. So they all rocked up, and then people are lying about their sexuality, their country of origin, their age, their name. They're lying, and then so many people are believing them, but it's the detriment to the safety of British people. Enough is enough now. Enough is enough. We're having 500 people a day now arriving by a dinghy. This can increase to 1,000 a day at some point.
So, Ivon, is it all their idea, whether to be Kosovan or Christian, or is it people of your own profession who say, here's how you get through the door?
Well, first, I'd be interested to know whether Paul has actually read the judgment, because it was unusual for the court to release the judgment.
I'm not surprised you're making excuses for these men again. You have blood on your hands, lawyers like you. I really am sick. You always sticking up for these people. Even the man that tried to bomb a maternity hospital. Do you not think that's despicable? And you'll still have excuses for him.
I think I'll be very careful making live broadcast accusations.
No, I don't have to be very careful. You should be very careful.
Well, let me tell you about the judgment, because we want to look at what the court's considered. And what the court considers the evidence. That's what the court considers. The judge would have heard evidence from Ezedi, and although he found that some of it was not credible, on the whole, he found his evidence to be consistent. Now, that's one part of the evidence. The other part is the evidence provided by the church, letters confirming that he was a genuine convert. There's also evidence, photographic evidence, of Ezedi giving out leaflets. And
that's not evidence. For God's sake, that's a photograph. A lawyer should know that.
That's also evidence, a letter from the church confirming that he was a true convert. Yes. I think he would have been cross-examined both by the Home Office and the judge, Ezedi, on whether his evidence was credible. On the whole, they found it was. Now, what I find difficult is the church minister wasn't cross-examined, because and I've been in court where churches have provided letters. And on the whole, the judge will accept the letters as written. I think what we need to see is the ministers being brought to the court for them to be cross-examined on that evidence, because at the moment that's not happening.
Struck off as well.
Oh, well, OK, listen, Ivon, I'm just curious about whether you think that the judge's judgment in this case was good, given what we now know, what is now in the public domain, the fact that he'd had multiple applications rejected by the Home Office, he'd remained in this country illegally. He was also convicted in this country of not only sexual assault, but also of exposing himself, and he was put on the sex offenders register for life. And the church had expressed concerns that he had to be accompanied by a chaperone when attending their premises, and yet the judge still felt that his human rights entitled him to remain in the UK. On the balance of all of that, do you still think it was the correct judgment?
Well, I think the Home Office could have challenged that judgment if they wanted to, and the Home Office lawyers would have looked at that judgment to see, and you could only challenge on a point of law, not on the facts. So as long as the judge's judgment complied with the law, in terms of what's called the evidential burden, on the balance of probabilities, he found the judgment. They found the judgment safe. The Home Office didn't challenge it. Now, you asked me whether I found the judgment to be correct. Well, look, I wasn't there at the hearing. I didn't hear the cross-examination. It's very difficult for me to really answer that question.
But you're right, Ivon, from the point of view that if it's a point of law, it's a point of law, and our opinions sort of don't really come into it. But I'm interested in Paula's opinion right now. And here's what I think. I look at this and...
I'm a female. I worry about female safety in this country. He doesn't care about female safety. I care. So I will always speak up for ladies that are worried about their safety. And Paula, he thinks, oh, it's just a pound note. So
what you're saying, Paula, is sort of what I'm thinking this morning. The headline in the Daily Telegraph is churches undermining the asylum system. So you could look at this as the asylum system undermining churches, or the other way about. But my point is, what has your religion, or whoever your God is, what's that really got to do whether you can live in this country or not?
Well, the reason is Article 2 and Article 3 of the European Convention protects your right. That's the right to life and right not to face persecution and torture. So there's countries in the world where if you're an apostate, if you converted, then you ultimately could be sentenced to death.
Well, Britain isn't one of them. Britain isn't one of those countries. So what I'm trying to say...
It's just a loophole. It's a loophole. That's all it is.
Yeah. You hear Paula saying it's just a loophole, Ivon.
Well, it's the law. So are we going to send people who aren't converted to Christianity?
A lot of legal aid lawyers are getting rich because of that, and it's wrong.
Well, I'm not a legal aid lawyer, and I don't represent a single asylum seeker on legal aid. The point is, we've got to comply with the law. Now, I agree with Paula that someone like Ezedi, on the face of it, seems like he was a horrible person to do that. I understand that, and I understand the emotions. But we have to consider the law and work within the confines of the law.
Well, how about the guy in Liverpool that had a Quran in his bag and he pretended to be Christian when he was going to blow up the maternity hospital?
Well, as I've said, I think that the evidence of the church needs to be tested. At the moment, all we're getting is letters from ministers. Now, that's not good enough. I think that the ministers should be compelled to come to give evidence in the court so they themselves can be cross-examined. Now, are you saying that people don't pretend to be Christians? No doubt there are people like that out there. But
I'm a real Christian. I pray every day. So using God's name in vain like this is disgusting as well, for one thing.
I thought Brexit was supposed to put an end to all of this, that you were to look at these European conventions and say, well, that doesn't suit us, that's not for us, so we'll not be applying that.
Well, Poland ignore it, so I don't know why we can't.
There's laws quite strong about people who commit criminal offences. So if you're convicted of a criminal offence which carries a sentence of more than 12 months, that's automatic deportation. The problem is the government has the law but is not enforcing it. We should deport people who have committed criminal offences. They should be deported.
Because of human rights lawyers.
OK, we're going to be talking to government representatives throughout the programme this morning on this. Ivon, thank you very much indeed for stating the case and pleading the argument against there. Paula, final word, just what should we be taking away from this today on the news agenda as we report this today? What should we be saying on behalf of the British population, British public out there?
We need to stop taking everything at face value. There are some genuine asylum seekers coming over, but a lot of people are coming over and they hate us and they're lying about their age, their country of origin, their nationality. They're pulling any trick they can to try to get their asylum granted. They're safe in France. They're not facing persecution. They can get asylum for free. They're coming over here because we've got human rights lawyers that will jump through hoops so they can get their asylum granted and skip the queue and get social housing above the British people. Stop believing all the lies that these asylum seekers are telling people.
Thank you both very much. Thank you both very, very much indeed. You'll certainly get people talking today, and we'll gauge that reaction throughout the programme. Paula London and Ivon Sampson there.